What's up everyone, Razmagaming here, back with another patch highlight video. This is patch 11.12. We'll be going over the TLDR version of just all the changes, and then going over my thoughts after that. Let's get right into it. So, system changes. This is a pretty big patch overall. Loot orbs. Reforger and Magnetic Remover are coming back as loot orbs. Those items will be as an extra item, not over some, like, you won't lose, like a BF sword or regular item to get one of those. They would just be as an extra that can drop in a PvE round. You can no longer use either of those items on, you can no longer use a Reforger on a Force of Nature or a Force of Darkness. The armory changes. The 3-2 armory will now have one shadow component and one regular instead of two regular. The 4-2 armory is not guaranteed now. Instead, there can be a new armory at 4-2, 5-2, 6-2, 7-2, etc. as long as the game goes. Or there could be none of those. They could have a chance to pop up, or they don't pop up at all. And those new armories, starting from 4-2 and on, can have consumables such as the Reforger, Nico's Remover, and Loaded Dice, spatulas, item components, combined items, meaning completed items, and emblems, which are completed spat items. So all of those can drop in the new armories starting from 4-2 and on. There's slightly hyperroll changes for the armories as well to just go along with that. Critical strike damage, they are reducing the base critical strike damage from 150% to 130%. What this means is anything that gives crit is now going to be just worse off overall, because there's less crit damage out there. For traits, we're getting many more of each trait. So the chase traits, you're getting a 6 Dragon Slayer, a 4 Ironclad, a 6 Renewer, a 4 Revenant, a 6 Spellweaver, and a 9 Skirmisher. For all of those traits, you will need a spatula to be able to reach them. You cannot reach them with just the units. For trait balancing here, we have a Cav nerf at 3 and 4 Cavs. We have a big A-bomb change. So the Monstrosity now stops charging after slamming into 2 targets. The Monstrosity now removes attack speed slows and A reduction when it casts its spell. Monstrosity gets more armor and magic resist, but less attack damage, less bonus AD. Dawnbringers are getting a 2% bonus damage per application of the Dawnbringer. Redeemed is getting a 6 and 9 buff for 6 redeemed and 9 redeemed, and Skirmisher is getting a 3 Skirmisher buff. For champions, Lysandra is getting a buff at all 3, 1, 2, and 3 star on both sections of her damage. Vayne is getting a 1 and 2 star buff, and Vlad is getting a slight mana buff. For champion changes here, Brand Mana Lock after casting is going up to 1.5 seconds. Hecarim's ability is being changed. If you want to learn more about this, like, it looks like it's a major nerf, but it's not. I'll explain it later on in the video. LeBlanc is getting completely changed, where her damage is being completely nerfed. At 1 and 2 star, at 1 star her stun duration is nerfed, 2 star it stays the same, 3 star the stun duration is buffed, and LeBlanc is getting a health buff. Nautilus is getting an AD buff plus a ability damage buff. Sejuani is getting an AD buff, and Thresh is getting an AD buff. For 3 cost units, Katarina is getting a slight damage nerf at 3 star on both portions of her ability. Riven is getting a nerf at 3 star for the extra AD she gets from her ult. Riven's base AD is also going down by 5. Nunu's max mana is going up by 5, so that's a nerf. And Zyra is getting a 20 mana buff to her max mana. Her damage at 1 and 2 star are going down to compensate, but 3 star damage is staying the same. For 4 cost units, Aphelios is getting a 10 mana buff. Jax is getting his attack speed nerf from last patch reverted, so he's getting an attack speed buff again. Karma is getting a larger mana lock. Mana buff, max mana buff. A mana reduction per cast nerf. A damage buff. And Vel'Koz is getting an attack speed buff. And for 5 cost units, Kale is getting a nerf on her 3rd ascension for attacks per immunity, going from 7 up to 10. For items, both versions of Archangels, the regular and Shadow version, are getting a buff. The Bloodthirster is getting a nerf to its lifesteal. Risk Thirster is getting a buff to the amount of self-damage it deals to the user. Hand of Justice is getting a buff to the attack damage and ability power. Ionic Spark is getting a buff to its magic resist shred. Sacrificial Jeweled Gauntlet is getting a change. It will no longer do damage based on the unit's max health, but based on the unit's max mana instead. Titan's Revenge is getting a slight nerf, and Vengeful Trapclaw, which is just Shadow Trapclaw, is getting renamed to Banshee's Claw. That is all of the major changes. There is some bug fixes in here as well, which is so Brand is a slight just bug fix. Hecarim is a bug fix that his ability now scales with AP. Vel'Koz is a good kind of bug fix where he will no longer be keep targeting someone who's untargetable. Same thing with Pantheon. Everything else is pretty just minor. So that is the TLDR notes. Now let's go over my thoughts for each thing. For the armories, I am pretty scared about the 4-2, 5-2, 6-2 armories. I feel like they're going to have some really high highs and really low lows. You know, Reforger, Nico, Remover, Loaded Die, Spats. There's some really good opportunities for some really big high roll. And if somebody gets some really big high roll and you don't, you're just going to be inherently weaker than them. And in the later stages of the game, you know, getting that one random item, if it's 6-2 and there's only 3 other people alive, and somebody gets a Nikos to finish a 3-star unit when you didn't, you know, you're both sitting at 8 of a unit, you're going to get a Jax 3, he's going to get an Aphelios 3, he gets the Nico and you don't, that's going to feel really bad. So, I'm worried about this, but I'm going to wait to pass full judgment till I see it in action. The crit change, I think overall I like. What this means is like the Jeweled Gauntlet IE combo, anything that's relying on crit is going to be a little weaker, which should put some more room for just other itemization. You know, going for a Death Cap, going for a Death Blade, stuff like that will actually possibly be more viable. So I hope to see this go like that, so crit isn't king anymore. For the trait bonuses, I think all of these chase traits, besides Skirmisher, are going to be pretty strong. Dragon Slayer, if you get the Dragon Slayer spat, is going to be amazing. Ironclad, Renewer. I think Renewer specifically is going to be amazing. You know, 5 Renewers plus a spat. Put the spat on a Teemo. Put in some major big units, and your team is chilling. I think the 4 Revenant, it will only ever be used in an Assassin comp. I don't think you'd ever want to splash in a Revenant spat plus a Nocturne just to get the higher health revive. But I could be wrong on that, because the Spellweaver 6, I think that's a lot of Spellweavers to put on board. That probably won't be doing too much for you. I think that's might not be too good. But then again, a 6 Spellweaver Vel'Koz, and if you Spellweaver like a Teemo or something, could end up just one-shotting teams. So I'll still wait and see on that. The only one I think is absolutely terrible is Skirmisher 9. I feel like you're never going to really be able to play that. That would require a spat, level 9, 8 Skirmishers on board, plus the spat, or level 8, a Fawn, a spat, plus 8 Skirmishers. I never see you doing that. I almost never see that being playable. It's kind of like 9 Redeemed or 9 Forgotten, which you like almost never see it right now. That's what I feel like that's going to be. For these trait balancing, I think the Cav nerf is justified. We all know how the Hecarim reroll Cav build is right now. I think the Monstrosity nerf, which is the Abomination nerf, is relatively justified. He's no longer an assassin. He's more of a tank now, who has some decent damage as well, but he's going to stop on an enemy unit's tanks. He's not going to run to the enemy's backline and just kill their carry instantly. So I feel like we're going to see a lot less of the Abomination. I think the Dawnbringer bonus damage is decent. I think it's still going to be... I'm not sure if they needed it. Riven's still going to be really strong. Karma with the changes is probably going to be really strong. Garen's a really strong unit. Nidalee's an So I think we'll see on that one. Redeemed getting a 6 and 9 buff. I think it needed it. We never really saw that. And the skirmisher getting just a 3 skirmisher buff. 3 skirm is pretty weak, so I think that one's fine. Lysandra changes. She'll just maybe be able to hold AP items for you now again, because before, like, currently she can't really do it too well. Vayne, same thing. Hopefully she can just hold some items for you. And Vlad getting a slight buff, not too big of a deal. The brand blue buff thing here is a slight nerf to him. It means he'll just have to, it takes a little bit longer for him to cast after he does his 1 auto. So it's a little bit of a nerf. The Hecarim changes, which look absolutely huge in numbers, aren't actually huge, because currently Hecarim does not scale with ability power at all. He's broken, so if you had that Shadow Ionic on him, if you built the Titans on him, it wasn't doing anything for you. Now, the AP scaling will be good, which just means you can't build a pure tank Hecarim and have him doing 1200 damage. If you want that extra healing, if you want that extra damage, you have to build some AP on him. You know, put a Titan's Revenge on him. Put a Shadow Ionic on him. Then he'll still be the same sort of almost like unkillable monster. And hopefully, you know, he'll still be pretty good with that. The LeBlanc changes, I don't know if I really agree with. I mean, they're gutting LeBlanc's damage completely, giving her a small health buff, and making it so only at 3 stars she's getting a stun duration buff. LeBlanc's just, she's getting completely gutted. I don't see why you'd ever go for the 3-star for that little bit of damage. I don't see it now. They gutted her. The Nautilus Sejuani Thresh changes are just so your tanks have a little bit more damage potential. Nothing huge, but, you know, especially those early game fights, you'll probably notice the difference in your unit's damage. Katarina 3 getting a slight nerf, completely understandable. She's a pretty big powerhouse right now. This should just bring her down that one little notch. Riven 3 getting a nerf as well, again, understandable. Complete powerhouse right now, probably needs it. This I'm not so sure about with the Riven attack damage nerf. This, because how Riven's ability scales with her base AD as well, this looks like a 5 AD nerf. It's probably more like at like a 15 to 20-ish AD nerf at 2-star with the way her ability scales and 2-star Riven, like with the AD. So that might hit her a little too hard. I'm not sure yet. Nunu max mana nerf, 5 mana. He is a little strong. I think with the nerfs to A-Bomb, you probably didn't need to do this, but they're just double hitting it. Zyra gonna be more CC, little less damage. If you get the 3-star because you're playing Draconic, more CC and damage. Gonna be very good. Aphelios, slight mana buff. Nothing too major, just a little bit stronger. Jax, putting him back to where I think he needs to be. I do think this will make 6 Skirm viable again, especially with all the other changes. Once again, I do think this will make 6 Skirm viable. And then all these Karma changes, what this pretty much means for Karma is she's not going to be required to have a blue buff anymore. She's always going to need to auto once before she ults again, so her itemization gets completely opened up, which is why they're also giving her extra damage, because she will not be throwing out nearly as many ults because she will always have to auto in between it. I think this is actually a very good change, because now you can flex AP items on Karma, Vel'Koz, Teemo, Heimer very well, and it should be very good. And then the Vel'Koz getting the attack speed buff, it actually means Sojourn a lot stronger on him. That looks like a little, but that actually might mean a lot. That means faster Vel'Koz ults, more Vel'Koz ults. And then the Kael's third ascension, the attacks per immunity going up. Less frustrating fighting against Kael. I still don't know how I feel about the Kael in general. Then onto the items. Both of these Archangel staffs, I still think they're not bad items. They're just not items you really slam early, and they're trying to really make them slammable. I do think I would use both of these items now for sure. After 2 buffs in a row and 2 patches. Absolutely. Bloodthirster Lifesteal, that's a decent little nerf. It's going to mean less like 1v5ing for Dravens and such, but I still think Bloodthirster will be like a premier AD defensive item. Risk Thirster, possibly getting a usability buff here. This means that Risk Thirster will proc its own attack speed faster because the unit will not have to heal as much. Hodge, I still don't see myself using this item much. It doesn't have a good spot in this meta, I feel like, in this set overall. Ionic Spark is going up to where Shiv and Garen's Magic Resist Shred are. I think that should have probably happened last patch, but now using Spark as an actual shredding tool doesn't nerf the amount of shred you're getting. This change to the Sacrificial Gauntlet is to make it so units like Brand won't just instantly kill themselves when they're just casting. It's meant to just make it so it's more linear between all mana costs, which is, I think, a very, very good change. The Titan's Revenge, the only real unit you ever put this on right now is a super tank. I really don't think this is a big change. And then that's just a rename. All in all, my overall thoughts right now, 4 costs are probably going to become very, very big. Aphelios, Jax, Karma, Vel'Koz, Draven, Mord are probably going to become like your premier type of carries. Still, with all these different types of changes, I also feel like Yasuo comp is probably going to be one of the strongest comps out there. I said this last patch, and I'm saying it again, because he is not getting any changes, and everything else is. And his comp is still really strong right now. 4 Nightbringer Yas, maybe 4 Dragon Slayer, depending on what you hit, all of that. Feel like it's going to be really good. I also feel like with the redeemed changes here, a 6 redeemed comp running like a Vel'Koz carry might become very good. We'll have to wait and see on that one, but I do feel like that'll be pretty good. Maybe also like 6 redeemed Varus will be possible. Who knows? But that is it for the 11.12 patch notes. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it helps you out. If it does, let me know in the comments. Let me know. Give me a like. All of that good stuff. I will be streaming live on Twitch more often now. I'm probably going to be starting earlier, around like 11 a.m., 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and going until 6 to 7. I'm trying to stream a little more, get more YouTube content out, all of that stuff. Anyway, everyone, have a fantastic night, and I will see you in the next video.